The average visit to an IKEA store lasts 2 hours and 16 minutes. This duration is not a byproduct of vast inventory or slow decision-making. It is a strictly engineered architectural feature. The floor plan actively eliminates natural navigation. There are no grid systems to cut across, and no direct routes from seating to kitchenware without traversing dozens of unrelated staged rooms. Every aisle operates as a behavioral funnel. The layout exists to systematically extract purchases that were never on the original shopping list. By transforming a standard retail space into a strictly one-way corridor, the environment strips away navigational autonomy. The building dictates the pace and sequence of the visit. In the 1950s, an Austrian architect named Victor Gruen proposed the enclosed shopping mall. His original intent was civic, designing spaces meant to replicate the pedestrian-friendly town squares of Europe. The physical execution took a different shape. Developers built massive, isolated, car-dependent structures that abandoned the civic purpose for pure commerce. During this era, Gruen observed a distinct psychological phenomenon. When external reference points like daylight and logical street grids are removed, shoppers undergo a state of deliberate disorientation. They slow down, and their logical focus deteriorates. Retail psychologists termed this the Gruen transfer. It describes the precise cognitive shift, where a person abandons list-driven, purposeful purchasing and begins reacting reflexively to whatever sits immediately in their field of vision. This continuous loop floor plan prevents shoppers from stopping to recalibrate. Movement must continue. The building is split into 2 zones. The upper showroom initiates the transfer with idealized domestic setups. Descending into the marketplace below, purchasing intent is softened and actual items are gathered. Breaking a pre-planned budget requires disabling the logical mechanisms that set it. Spatial disorientation achieves this before a single price tag is examined. Once the forced path dictates movement, the pricing architecture determines exactly which objects are lifted from the shelves. Behavioral economists rely heavily on the anchoring effect. Research demonstrates that the first number a person sees serves as a cognitive baseline, disproportionately influencing all subsequent judgments of value. This visualization illustrates the decoy effect. The most expensive item reframes the second most expensive option as a rational compromise. The Billy bookcase scales the strategy store-wide. As a permanent €60 anchor, it makes a €30 lamp or €12 candle register as an insignificant addition. In these environments, numerical values are detached from raw manufacturing costs. The numbers function primarily as cognitive levers to manipulate relative comparison. There is a secondary physiological system running parallel to the physical layout, centered on the in-store restaurant. Meals here are priced aggressively below market rates. The biology of shopping is straightforward. Hunger activates scarcity thinking. A state of scarcity narrows a person's focus and actively inhibits impulse spending. Retail analytics confirm that fed shoppers exhibit significantly higher dwell times. Operating without a scarcity deficit, they browse longer, show increased patience, and spend on average 23% more. The highly subsidized food placed directly at the exit serves a final cognitive purpose. It acts as a positive emotional anchor, ensuring the last sensory memory is one of receiving a bargain, rather than handing over currency. Manipulating biological comfort ensures the consumer remains compliant. It acts as a final failsafe, keeping energy levels high enough to prevent the abandonment of a heavily loaded cart at the checkout line. This spatial logic extends far beyond flat-pack furniture. It is a legible blueprint for nearly all modern physical retail spaces. Casino floors apply the exact same transfer. Windows and clocks are omitted entirely. The carpet patterns are intensely chaotic, a specific design choice to prevent patrons from looking down to navigate logically. Supermarkets rely on the licensing effect. Placing fresh, vibrant produce at the immediate entrance ensures early virtuous choices, which statistically primes shoppers to compensate with higher-margin, indulgent items in later aisles. Airport duty-free zones route a captive audience through an unavoidable forced path. High-margin, sensory triggers like perfume and alcohol are positioned first to break down spending resistance. Despite selling entirely different goods, each of these environments shares a rigid underlying formula. Disorientation and sensory priming combine to dismantle rational purchasing intent. Victor Gruen spent a final decade of his life loudly disavowing the psychological trap his designs had inspired. He viewed the commercial weaponization of his civic theories with complete disdain. The public gathering spaces he hoped to build failed to materialize, yet the disorientation mechanism he accidentally pioneered became the foundational operating system for the world's most profitable consumer brands. When a consumer leaves a store holding a €12 candle they had no intention of acquiring, it is rarely a simple failure of personal budgeting. It is the successful mathematical execution of an invisible architectural trap drafted 70 years ago. The physical layout removes variables until the outcome is a statistical certainty. The space dictates the purchase long before a shopper ever walks through the door.